It was mid-morning on the August 7th, 1998, when the first massive blast hit the U.S. Embassy in downtown Nairobi. Minutes later, it was followed by an explosion in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, killing a total of 224 people and injuring around 5,000 people. That forms the basis of our discussion as we mark the memorial of the 1998 bomb blast. Good morning and welcome to Midweek, rather. I'm Abu Bakar Abdullahi. My guest today is Mwiti Muridhi, who is the writer of Act Before a Bang, an author by his own standards. Mwiti, many thanks for making time for us. And remember, we have our reporter Fiona Kenga, who will be joining us shortly to give us a live update from where the memorial is happening. But first, let's get to this discussion. Mwiti Muridhi, many thanks for making time for us.
Thank you for having me.
After the 9/11 attack, the title of "This is a War on Terrorism, Global Terrorism" was redefined, partly by what President Bush put as a statement. More than 2 decades, if not close to 2 decades later, is the war on terror being won?
We have milestones. As terrorism is not monolithic, it's evolving. And so as we prepare to tackle terror, also the terrorists are not sleeping. They're doing so much from their end so that they can win their terror. As much as we prepare, they're out there to look for our weakest point so that they can attack. Remember, anytime there's an attack, it means that the attacker plans when, where, and how to attack you. Yes.
Well, we'll get to Act Before a Bang, the book that you are an author of, which in detail as well talks about terrorism and how one can avoid in a situation that they are founded to be in. But when you say there is a progress made, and you look back and see that in 1998, we only had Al-Qaeda, that was a big name for a bad reason in the terrorism sphere. You have Al-Shabaab now, you have Boko Haram now, you had ISIS, which was obliterated. That is progress?
I can tell you one thing. There's nothing that is new under the sun. There's, in the history of man, we've never had a time when we didn't have organized crimes. Unfortunately, for this day and age, we have a group of young men taking side on one type of a religion. But then that doesn't mean that religion is involved, by the way, because...
But many a times they justify shouting the name of God in Islam, be it Allah, or even be it the Ethiopian, the Ugandan terror group.
But then I'll tell you one thing, you cannot actually drag religion into that. Religion has been used as a scapegoat because apparently we have a subsector of Wahhabism. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yes.
This originates from Saudi Arabia. This actually means misinterpretation of the Holy Book. Now, which gives them the mandate or the right to attack in the name of religion. But then, as you've mentioned, there are 4 things that I would want each and every person from today to relate with, and maybe the leaders in religion should put across to all the citizens of the world, by the way, because we have an issue with we need to understand what is shaheed. We need to understand what is martyrdom, the concept of martyrdom. We need to understand what is fatwa. And then apparently we need to understand also what is hadith.
Fair enough. These are Arabic terms that you're mentioning. I am familiar with, but I'd love you to explain from your point of view.
Yes, basically that's why I wanted someone to put it across, because I'm not a specialist in religion. But then those 4 words that I've mentioned are the core reasons as to why we have misinterpretation of the Holy Book. Because apparently...
and of the Holy Book in this, you are making reference to the Quran?
No, I wouldn't want to mention a particular book, because you see, for a group of Muslims, if they come together, they are called terrorism. What of a group of Christians, when they come together, they are called organized criminals. You see, we have given word to terrorism in the name of religion, of which I don't really would want really to mention it in my talk.
Fair enough. Are we then being selective of how we use the word who a terrorist is?
No, actually it's ignorance. Ignorance is deep down ourselves. It's deep down our system. People don't understand what is terrorism. Terrorism is a complicated problem without a simple solution. No single person can eliminate terrorism in this world. And mind you one thing, for us to win war on terrorism, the civilians must be involved. War on terrorism should be brought down to the civilians. Civilians need to be trained on how to counter terrorism. Civilians are the core source of intelligence, that intelligence gathering that is needed. And that brings me to this point. The sovereignty of this country and the security of this country is mandated by two people. The national intelligence community, which is doing an excellent work in collecting and interpreting threats, and now the Kenya Defense Forces and Kenya Police Service, which act on now the threats that is there. There's this that person who's forgotten, the civilian, where the intelligence is gotten from. Now, if a civilian is trained on how to collect, to gather for intelligence, and package it in a format that is relayed to the law enforcement, war on terror will be won. But until then, it won't be won, that I can tell you.
Fair enough. Global terrorism is defined as an act of crime or violence intended to further political or religious ideologies. Is it a case of religion and politics, and this I won't absolve politics from it, that is driving young people to get into terror groups?
It is easier to put it that way because of course we know terror is a crime, but then it is easier to brand it in a way that it will look favorable. But then we know terror and politics go hand in hand. When there's one, there's bound to have another. In
what sense do they go hand in hand?
For instance, I'll tell you this. You see, terrorists cannot be defined. I'll give you an example of what we had in 1988. The Al-Qaeda said that the reason as to why they bombed Nairobi was because of Southern Sudan disintegration.
Yes.
They said that it was because of the US government taking its troops to Saudi Arabia. That is politics. Now, that is reason enough for terrorists to attack a place. We know what happened in Dusit in Kenya. They said it's because of Americans moving their capital city to Jerusalem. You see, now those are scapegoats as to why people get reasons to attack. But then remember, they affect us directly, regardless of...
We'll come to how they affect us. When politics is cited and religion is used as a caveat, shouldn't then be it a responsibility of religious people to come out and condemn that this is not what religion teaches?
That I agree with you, because I know one thing out of reading. Islam is peace. Islam means peace. Then there is no, it doesn't need rocket science to distinguish that it will never come a time that a religious person who's a follower of the Prophet will kill to enhance his teaching as a servant. Because this brings me to the point of, we view terrorists, we brand them terrorists. Their followers brand them heroes, and themselves, they view themselves as servant of Christ, of God.
Fair enough. I'm sure you must have heard of the cliche of one man's terrorist being another man's freedom fighter. Is that exactly what?
That is exactly what I'm trying to put across. We view them. Everyone views them in a different aspect. Their followers view them as heroes. They view themselves as servants, enhancing the teachings of the Holy Book. So to them, they're doing what is rightful to them, trying to safeguard the interest of their...
Fair enough. If everyone views it according to their own lenses, how should security experts like you view them as?
Basically, I personally view them as criminals. There's no other better word of viewing them. They're organized criminals. These are well-versed people who are trained to disrupt the normal running of a society. There's no other way you can put it at that, because honestly, laymanly, from someone who doesn't need even more explanation, if at all the terrorists are against the government, they should fight the government. Why would they come and bomb a civilian who's innocent, who doesn't know. And that comes to now what I was telling you about fatwa. Those are small things that, to me, I don't personally, now that's my view, I don't view them as genuine. Because if we had a genuine cause, there is a genuine way of following up on the genuine people whom you should.
Fair enough, Mwiti. The very opening chapter, the first chapter of your book, Act Before a Bang, is on terrorism.
Yes.
And the very subtopic of the first chapter is on understanding your enemy.
Yes.
How do you understand an enemy that doesn't even care about you?
No one in this world should die out of ignorance. Someone who is a terrorist is ignorant. And we, the civilians who are not able, we are obligated to get the information about terrorism. That's why we have the book. We are obligated to know what it is, what terrorism stands for. So everyone between us, we are both ignorant. That's why we face this. I'll tell you this.
Ignorant in what sense?
You see, unfortunately, insecurity and terrorism is not anything that we've been taught about. In our country, I'll give you an example. There was need to train on road crossing because that was the most dangerous thing that happened in our time as we grew up. But unfortunately, the risk landscape in the world has changed. Terror and insecurity are the center stage of the world. But then unfortunately, we don't have courses to train a normal civilian on what to look for and how to look for anomalies in terms of threat detection. Because terrorism is planned. It has stages. So if at all you're trained on how to look, on what to look out for, I'm sure these stages would be cut by half. And now the terrorist, the end product we call terrorism, would never exist. Yes.
Fair enough. There has been a talk of double standard on who a terrorist is.
Yes.
There are those who claim that when Abdi or Muhammad like me does an evil in the name of their own religion, he's branded as a terrorist. When someone does the same action, same mass shooting beat, we use caveats such as mass shooting. Where does that double standard arose from?
That's what I told you. In the book, Act Before Bang, I've described it so well that we have a proper profiling of a criminal. We have the best and only way, by the way, you can profile a criminal is through human behaviors. That's the best way you can define a criminal. A name, a religion, a race will never define a criminal. We have different motives. We have different stimulus that would make us do a crime in the name of religion. But then that doesn't define who we are. The only way we can define or profile a criminal is using behavior pattern recognition and analysis. Yes.
And how do you get to identify the behavior of someone who is distant and just wants to bomb?
You see, there is this program that I've designed here.
Of which we'll talk in depth a little bit
it is actually
later about
in it. You see, we have a process of being proactive. In any security setup, the idea is you need first to be proactive because if at all you're not proactive, you'll be reacting to the criminal. Now, there are other facets of security that you need to learn, like visual intelligence, like intelligence gathering, intelligence reporting, and now advanced situational awareness, which include now the 4 pillars of nonverbal communication. You don't need a person to talk to you for you a way to see a weapon to know someone is a criminal. If at all you know on the basics of how human behavior, the body language, the signs that we give before we do a crime or commit one, then you'd be in a position to get yourself out of trouble.
And just for purpose of clarity, that should be used as a yardstick on everyone whom you meet?
You see, it's important that any other time we remember that even the best day can turn out to be the worst. Even a good day can turn out to be worse in a flash. It's important that when you go out of your safe place in your house, it's important to be on the lookout. You should be observant in the people you meet, what's going around you. And then that's not to mean that you should be paranoid. It just means you need to rise.
It sounds as though one
level.
should live a life of suspicion, being suspicious of everyone whom you meet.
No, not really. But by the way, it's not that you should be suspicious as per se, but you shouldn't trust anyone, because no one has a label of terrorism, especially when you go to these places where we have high volume of traffic. Because you see, this is their target. The target of a terrorist cut across each and every place that we visit. Unfortunately, we don't know the day or the date that they're going to attack. So anytime you're not on your comfort zone, which is your house, you should raise your awareness level. Actually, we have a group of colors or stages of awareness level. For instance, I'll give you an example. Being in color white, color white means you're unaware, you're unprepared. So you'll die, by the way. The people you'll die because? Yes. The people that we hear have been killed in one or the other are usually in that particular level, color white. They are unaware.
But irrespective of the color me and you are in, if a terrorist, may God forbid, walks in through this studio, he will shoot whomever he wants to shoot.
You see, there is one aspect of luck that we tend to put ourselves to, which doesn't work. I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. If a terrorist walks in this studio today, it's upon whoever he meets or she meets know that distinguish between a terrorist and a criminal. And the best option to do that is react. There's no amount of pleading that will make this person spare your life. You get me? So there's that very thin margin of what to do when you're under pressure. And that's where training comes in. Yes.
Fair enough. We'll talk of personal security a little bit later. More than, I think, 6 years, 7 years, if not even a decade now since Kenya went into Somalia to fight Al-Shabaab. If you were to judge objectively on the war on terror in Somalia, are we winning the war in Somalia?
By the way, there are great strides that as a country we've made towards security. Our security forces have advanced in a great way. But unfortunately, what you're not doing as a society is we, the civilians. Yes, as per whatever we know today from the news, we hear that we no longer hear of multiple attacks that Kenya used to have in Somalia. We no longer hear of ambushes that we used to hear when the first time they went in. So it's us to judge by what we get from the media that we're doing well. But this is according now to the law enforcement. The law enforcement has advanced to a high level. But unfortunately, as a society, as civilians, we've not managed to change in any way. That's why we're always being punished by the Al-Shabaab. Yes.
There are those who put on the notion that if terrorist groups are armed and their work is to kill, in fact there's a book I remember called Dying to Win, if their aim is to kill and win, why are you fighting them with the weapons that they are fighting you with? Why not use another strategy?
Exactly.
Does that work?
Of course, yes. You see, for that aspect, I would wish to put it as bang, as per the book. Bang is when now they're killing us, or when there's a fight. Today in history, we have so many other complicated, complex communication channels that the enemy is using, bypassing the algorithm, the tipping algorithm that we have. So we're always left behind, and we don't need to do that. We need to be a step ahead of them. The only way we would fight crime today, the only and the best way to fight crime today is through intelligence. Because as I told you, we have, in the book you'll find we have an attack cycle. For any attack to happen, there has to have a surveillance, which takes time. And then we need to have the planning. We need to have the deployment. We need to have now the attack itself and the escape. So if every Kenyan would know the cycle of what is expected at what particular stage, it would be easy to counter or disrupt that particular cycle from taking place.
Mwiti, let me rephrase my question. Yes. My question was, if they're using the military style of crude weapons to fight, is there an alternative that can be used to fight them back without engaging them in that military confrontation?
Yes. I say yes because of this way. For the terrorists to reach a stage of fighting, they do what we call a propaganda narrative. As a country, the best way to fight propaganda, it's not through a weapon, it's not through a gun. It is through a counter narrative, to counter the narrative that they have. Because of what? The moment it has come now to the military action, that is the last option. That's actually where I'm saying it is better, the only way we can beat terrorism, which is an idea. Remember, terrorism is an idea. It's an ideology that is propagated to people. There is no terrorist as per se. It's not a unit.
Can you fight an idea physically?
You can't fight an idea physically. That's what I'm saying. You need to counter their narrative with another narrative. We need to put our best foot forward, to use the channels that they are using to counter their narrative. And you see now, that's when we need to involve now the society. That's where we need to involve the citizen. The war on terror won't be won by the military in the field, in the war zone. The war on terror will be won by inclusion of civilians to the same. Security is a collective responsibility, and each and every Kenyan has a part to play. You and I, we have part to play. The policemen and the military guys have their own part to play. Where theirs is to eliminate the threat. Ours is to give them the intelligence.
Fair enough. Many a times when we have attacked, and we have had a couple of them in the last 5-6 years, the question that often comes into mind is, how comes our intelligence wasn't at work?
By the way, it's unfortunate that we get to see the flaws of the intelligence, but we don't get to see the achievements.
But the flaws are shouting more than the achievement, aren't they?
It's true now from where we sit, but then the achievements are greater than what the flaws. These are the loose ends sometimes that sometimes someone failed to do his work, like I told you, collective responsibility. But then the intelligence community of this country has proven to be above par. It's doing what, actually it has improved from what we used to know to what it is now. I can give you an example.
For someone like you, an expert in this field, who says we have improved, you understand the technicalities involved in that improvement, but for a parent who has lost their kid in a terror attack such as Dusit D2, which there were allegations that there was a prior intelligence, or even the Westgate Mall shopping attack, where there were indications of terror attack, as per the then NIS, I think, official who is the current DPP, who later on came out to say that there was an intelligence. That parent won't understand how the National Intelligence Service is really working, is it?
It is true. You see, I told you that the intelligence community has its role, which is gathering and disseminating intelligence to the police, and military operators to eliminate the threat. Now, if the NIS say it has relayed information to the police, the blame seems to be theirs again. Now you get me. But then when it comes to now the parent who is...
Won't one question that intelligence, if at all it's not paying off at the end of the tunnel?
You see, intelligence need to be worked on. Reliable intelligence need to be worked on. And it's not a part of the national intelligence to work on the intelligence.
Fair enough.
It has relayed to the operators who need now to eliminate the threat. Now, the question should be, who slept on his job? Is it the intelligence who didn't relay the information in the right time, or is the operators that are mandated to eliminate the threat who didn't do that, or who didn't eliminate the threat?
Do you understand the difficulty for a layman like me in matters of security to be told that there was an intelligence, but we didn't use it?
That's why we say it has improved. Before, we didn't have a common ground where we had all interagencies. Today we have it. We've seen how it has worked well in Dusit. Before, we didn't have it. And that was the need that was now the solution that was gotten from that particular problem that erupted. Remember, terrorism is a new thing to us as Kenya, though it has been around for the longest while. And we have these steps that we're improving each and every day, every single day of our lives. And for that matter, that's why I'm saying, as a parent, we have a responsibility we have an obligation to take care of ourselves. I'll give you an example. At what cost, how can you value your life? How can you value a life in a setup whereby you're just ignorant of what is happening around you? That's where there's a need of education. That's where now education's coming. We need to get educated in a sense that we've seen parents in Kenya claiming their children had crossed over to Somalia and to do stuff. But then they didn't report the matter to the police in advance for them to be helped. Now, this is where we need now the link between, that's where alert program comes in, which is now the bridge between the parent or the civilian and the law enforcement. We need to have this bridge, well-defined bridge between the two. And now, as a parent or as a civilian, what do you need to be trained in order to distinguish between what is rightful or what is a valuable intelligence so that you can disseminate it or relate to the law enforcement?
You're getting to my second topic, which is personal security, but that we will discuss a little bit later. Let's stick with terrorism.
Yes.
With the invasion of Iraq and other countries, political aggression on the rise, does that contribute to a rise in terrorism cases?
Yes, of course, yes. We know if you rattle a snake, it will bite you. Yes, we know this disabling of the Arab nation. For instance, now Iraq, it has contributed very greatly to the increase of terror. We've seen terror is an international. It's an international movement, if I may put it that way. People are moving from their home countries to where they think their help should, where the help is needed. We've seen massive of people from Europe, from Arab, from anywhere, from even Kenya, going to Iraq to fight.
From Britain fighting with Al-Shabaab, as we saw the case of last year.
Yes, we know terror is international. These guys are skilled, they're equipped, and they're moneyed. And they have the motivation to do that. And remember, they get their sympathy from now the people who believes in what they believe. And they are ready, by the way, to die for they are ready to die for what they believe in.
And how do you curb an idea that is countryless, borderless, an idea so international as terrorism is?
I told you terrorism is a complicated problem.
Fair enough.
Which needs a lot of scrutiny in itself. By what? That's where now the religious leaders need to come in. They need to distinguish between what we earlier talked about, Wahhabism,
yes,
which is a sect of now which propagates that particular area, and now the real deal of religion, and separate it from now whatever is happening, because people will seek refuge to places of worship, to get indoctrinated, to commit terror in the name of religion, which they don't know. That's why I'm saying, at this day and age, not even the Al-Shabaab, not even any terrorist should die out of ignorance. Because
are you employing the idea that these terrorists do not even know what they're talking about?
I can actually bet on that. You see, unfortunately, the most important organ in a human being is the brain. If you're made to believe what you need to believe, and you believe it in a wrong way, it means you'll act as per what you believe. And now, I'll tell you this. There was a research that, well, I can't remember the actual figures, that say that almost 90% of all terrorists are converts. How comes 90% of all those terrorists are converts? Why? Because the information or whatever they have been fed on is misinterpreted or is doctored. Now, if you get wrong information, you're automatically weaponized. And if, for instance, someone plays on your vulnerability, you actually become now a tool of terror. Yes.
And there's no...
That is ignorance.
And there's no anyone who is immune to this radicalization.
No one is immune.
Irrespective of how well educated you are?
Yes, because you see, we are all consumers of information, regardless of where we are. But then you see, we are vulnerable to our beliefs. No one is free from that. Actually, as much as no one is free from terrorism, no one is free from terror itself. We are all candidates of an attack if you don't look out. Yes.
Fair enough. Mwiti, as an expert in this field, someone whom I'm sure you have familiar with and you have familiarized yourself with analyzing terror attacks, why would a young person aged between 16 to 20 to 25 be interested in dying to kill people?
Life is very funny. We live in this world for a purpose. And purpose is what makes, an army officer today in Kenya will swear to protect this country. That's a purpose. The purpose of a terror group is to create or insinuate in a way that religion is being attacked. So you need to have soldiers in quotes to protect this religion. That is a purpose. Now, for instance, if you are at this age, you are at your most vulnerable place, 18 years to 25. You're vulnerable, you're bound to have emotional imbalance, you're bound to have so many other issues as you're growing up. This is when people are vulnerable. I cannot tell you this, I can attest to this. At this particular time, at this particular age, you find guys are seeking to find meaning to life. Some are disappointed. Some are getting to know themselves. And at this
even if that meaning entails dying?
You see, it goes to what I told you about belief. If I am so much involved in religion to an extent that I'll die as a martyr, it means that my life will have meaning after I'm dead. I'll go for that.
We've talked of religion, let's talk of politics and terrorism. Many a times we have equally seen our land, this is our place, these are our people, don't get here, don't come to our country, don't interfere with how we operate. How much of a big deal is this in as far as rising terrorism is concerned?
This is a fight of resources. Terrorism is backed by resources. For terror to be there, they need money. For it to operate, to do its operation well. And you see, it is easier to gang young men to protect their land as per se from these intruders coming to steal from them. It is easier to protect or to gang young people to do that. So politics comes here where we have these politicians or now international politics on resources. That's when there's need for people to protect their land and their resources. Because as per the way it looks, these intruders come to only steal, damage, and take away their resources.
And if that is the perception, that these intruders are coming to steal our wealth, shouldn't there be a justification on the other end that these are people defending their land?
But then remember, it's true by all means, by our own way judgment, we need to, there is justification to do that. But then there are other avenues of trying to approach that particular problem. Remember, for instance, if I take the case of Kenya, Kenya didn't go to Somalia because, Kenya went to Somalia to protect its sovereignty. That was the major reason as to why Kenya went to Somalia. You can attest to this. Somalia has been has not experienced a firm government from the longest time. So
the last quarter century, 25 plus years.
Yes. Honestly, you can't. They can't claim that Kenya went there for their resources, and so is any other country. If there is human rights are violated, we have international laws that govern each and every state. That's why we have countries, probably like Syria, where Americans and British and maybe European people invaded in order to protect the civilian who was being who was.
Fair enough. Mwiti, there are also those who claim that the presence of Western countries in some of these Arab countries which gave birth to Al-Qaeda has elicited a reaction from young people in those countries leading to terrorism. Do you see a connotation between that?
Yes. Terrorism is the best way to put it is, it's a cycle. Obviously, the kids that are coming up, having seen their parents being killed by the white person, by the Americans, they grow up with so much vengeance. So it's a cycle that will forever continue until when it will be put to a stop. But then remember, it is very honest and it is very, it is real that they are claiming rightful way, honestly. Because if there's no justification as to why you guys came to our country to do whatever you're doing, then we are bound to protect ourselves. Yes.
We are not in defense of anyone who kills anyone. We are not in defense of any terror group. But often the justification they give is you come to our land, you steal our wealth, you kill, you rape our women, kill our children, and you expect us to sit back.
But by the way, as you've put it, they are justified to respond to that.
But not to kill, but not to kill any innocent person in shopping malls.
You see, it is very wrong to retaliate with a weaker person. For instance, for lack of a better word, let me put it this way: if you invade my house, I have a right to defend myself with whatever means that I have. But then, if you invade my house, I don't have a right to go to a neighbor's house and kill them, just to put across, yes.
Fair enough, Mwiti Muridhi. We'll have this discussion after this break. I understand it's time for us to take a short break here on Midweek. We are talking about terrorism, this being the memorial week of the 1998 terror attack in the U.S. Embassy here in Nairobi and Dar es Salaam as well. We are taking a short break. We'll be back with this and much more after this break.
Nilipogundua ya kwamba nimepoteza uwezo wa kuona, nilikuwa mwenye kukasirika sana. Nilikuwa na huzuni.
I wish that the people know what security matters is to each and everybody.
Uhuru, sheria na haki ni vipengee muhimu katika maisha kila siku.
Na iwapo serikali itafanikiwa katika makuzi ya jamii iliyo na mwelekeo, basi sharti sheria hizo zifuatwe.
Na kwa sababu sheria ni msumeno kukata mbele na nyuma, ni vyema kufahamu tungo hizi.
Siku zote jambo usilolijua ni kama usiku wa giza.
Ungana nami Clifford Ndubi
nami Andreen Kilemi
kila siku ya Jumatatu saa 1 jioni tukidonoa na kuchanganua sheria hizi
zinazotudhibiti.
Mzae wakati alianzia kitabu alikuwa anafanya alikuwa shamba boy mahali hapo, ndio alikuwa shughuli pilika akapatana na hii hapo, bado na yeye akafuta kazi mahali alikuwa alifutwa kazi, akaona hakuna otherwise, si akaishia kuwa mechanic, later akaanzia kufanya apples hapo. Sasa ndiye alichukulia na akaendelea na safari yake apples.
Wakati nilipelekea watu wa Nation wakule wale waandishi wa magazeti wa Nation, wakaniuliza wewe unaitwa wapo wewe, sasa hii matunda unanunua ukiletea ukitoa wapi? Nikawaambia sasa navuna kwa nyumbani. Wakaniambia niwache ukuzi kwa ajili walijua matunda yanatoka Israeli ama Tanzania. Nikawaambia sasa ni kwangu hapa Nyeri.
Huko kwa gazeti alinunuliwa gazeti kama 4 na watu wale wanakaanga town. Hata zile zinakujaga hapo kwa duka, mtu akipata anakimbia na unaletea.
Welcome back to Midweek, and in case you are just joining us now, the discussion we are having in studio is on the war on terror. And in case you have been watching this, remember you can be part of this discussion. The number will appear shortly on your screen. Call in, share with us your thoughts, and be part of this discussion. Just a reminder. It's part of the recommendations that you made. One says, and I quote, "The government should make it public that Kenya is in a symmetrical war with terrorists, and every citizen has a right to play for us to win the war." That the government should let Kenyans know that it is in a war with terror?
Yes. A symmetrical war means that we are fighting an unknown enemy. It means that any other time of our being as a country, we are prone to attacks. Remember, we're not fighting a force. We are fighting people in the name of terror, in the name of Al-Shabaab. These are unknown. Actually, there's no tangible evidence that this is so and so. So we're not fighting. It's not like Kenya is fighting another country or another force. So each and every Kenyan should and must be aware of that. It's the responsibility of the government to bring the war on terror to the civilian. Because, like I said there, everyone has a role to play. As civilians, we have a role to play, which is gathering and reporting the intelligence that we've gathered in a way that, in a format that is actually actionable. So that's where the government needs to bring the war to the people.
Let's take Kenya out of the picture.
Yes.
Is this something that you will encourage any other country to declare?
Yes. Today in history, the war is on intelligence. The person who has the best intelligence and reacts to it faster wins the fight. That's the way it is. So we are not bound. It's not a Kenyan thing. If any country or any government is to win war on terror, it must involve its citizens. They should be involved just like the way we have now the two arms of government safeguarding the country. Then the intelligence and the national police, national defense forces, the intelligence that collects and relays, interprets the intelligence, and now the military, the police operators that are mandated to eliminate the threat. Now the third person, who is now the civilian, where the intelligence is, must be involved. Because without this civilian, no proper intelligence will be gathered as the way it should be, because we know we can't have the intelligence officers each and in every house in this country. We can't have law enforcement each and every corner of this country. So we need first to now change the approach of war in itself, by the way, from being reactive, waiting to preparing for counter attack, and rather being proactive.
You talk of the civilians being involved.
Yes.
These are Kenyans who should be involved in this war on terror.
Sure.
My question is, do people really have confidence to report of any intelligence to any of these authorities?
Actually, your question should be, do they even know what is there to be reported?
And if they know,
yes,
do they have the confidence? Let me stick with my question.
That's where now we come in. That's where the programs comes in. We need to have what you call information audit trail. If someone, you see, Kenyans fear to report and be victimized by the whatever you reported. But then today, the country needs to change its approach on intelligence collection. The country, the government should make sure that the civilians are well guarded. The civilians that are giving information are well protected and cannot be victimized. Because of one thing, we need to have an information audit trail whereby if someone has reported this matter to a certain police station for that matter, it should now, there should be questions of when you reported, what happened next? Someone should be held responsible after receiving the intelligence and what you did with the intelligence. Because we've had times and again that you report an intelligence and it's not worked on. And other times that we report intelligence and you followed back by...
Fair enough. I asked that question at the backdrop of victimization.
Yes.
And this is a report that is made to the authorities, the security agencies, by civilians, by Kenyans who have seen a danger. For instance, let's assume one of our camera persons here, Karis, let's say I've seen him engage in things that wouldn't be normal. I come to you as a security officer and report. Many a times you'll be interested of how I got to know what Karis was doing at that time, than following up on what I've told you.
You see, now that's where we go wrong as a country. And now that's where the alert programs comes in, to clear all the worries about reporting and whatnot. We need to have a systematic way of, if civilians are trained just like any other training on intelligence gathering, and for this matter, right intelligence, the good intelligence that can be worked on. Because we have two types of intelligence, by the way. We have predictive intelligence and warning intelligence. If civilians would collect intelligence, it is not, I believe, if they collect the rightful intelligence and disseminate it to the right people, there should not be a back trail of how you got the intelligence, because the intelligence itself, it is workable. They have their own way, analysts by the way, to analyze how credible the intelligence is.
But you are classifying that intelligence must be the right one?
You see, it's not me, the civilian, to determine how rightful the intelligence is. It is what I see. If it is threatening to my environment and the people around me, it is my responsibility to tip off the law enforcement. It is their responsibility to take the action.
And does that confidence of tipping up intelligence to authorities even exist?
Honestly, we're supposed, as a country, our president has told us many times that there should be an interaction between the public and the civilians and the law enforcement. Well, to a certain extent, I believe, because I've seen it, that we have quite a number of people that relay intelligence to the police, but that is not enough.
Fair enough, and we give credit where it is due, purposely because of the reforms that we have had in the security sector. Let's get to the book that I have hosted you to talk about for the last 1 hour. The very title of the book is Act Before a Bang. It sounds precautionary. Why should I act before a bang?
Acting before bang, I'll explain it. You need to, a bang is what we fear most. It's the terror act, it's a road accident, it's the stabbing, it's the sexual assault. Bang is anything that we dread to happen to ourselves. It's anything that would do everything to avoid. Now, acting before that means you need to know what are the precursor signs. What are the signs that will tell you that bang is coming? You need to be in a position to know what to look for and how to look for those precursor signs in order to avoid that particular time of vulnerability.
And for purposes of clarity, what should one look for before a bang?
Exactly. Now, we have what I call behavior pattern. Humans are classified by behaviors. You'll be surprised, we even pick our mates through body language. 93% of human communication is nonverbal. These are the body language, the body signs. We actually know what is good for us and what is not good for us. You know what makes us happy and what doesn't through body language. You can tell by so many things. You don't need to wait to see someone with a weapon to know that an attack is about to happen. You only need to read the body language. If you're trained, that's where now we come in. If you're trained to look on the precursor signs, to look and know that bang is coming. And now 1 minute or 1 second, 1 hour will be enough to keep you safe.
And if someone walks into a place where you are at with a malicious intention, an intention to destroy not only property, but also to kill people, and they only have 2 minutes, surely those 2 minutes are very few to read of what is going around, isn't it?
Actually, you can.
How?
You see, that's the difference between now us and the security officers, the law enforcement. Supposing you know what to look for instance, it's you to tell. For instance, if in a place like here, in a restaurant, it is precautions. You need to take precautions of where you're seated in the first place. You need to know where your exit places are. And then again, it's important to distinguish between now that the thinnest line I talked about, when to attack and when to escape. You get me? You need to know the intention, because for any crime to work, we need 3 things: the intention, motivation, and capability. If you are able to read these 3 things, it means that you're in a position, you take the advantage that the attacker has over you, and you protect yourself.
Fair enough. Mwiti, as an analyst, as someone who is analyzing these trends and patterns, be it of behavioral change or even insecurity, one would say, yes, this sounds more academic than it is in reality, that you have 1 minute in a place that will be attacked, and you want them to observe all what you have talked about.
The 1 minute means one thing. You have a pen. You have a pen in your hand.
Yes.
The 1 minute means whatever you have around you should be used as a weapon. The 1 minute is not to escape if you're cornered. The 1 minute is to determine if you really now this is a time to attack. By the way, we have what you call in the book, you'll find OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, and act. This is a cycle. You need to observe fast enough your environment. By the way, we have 3 questions that are very important in any security setup that each and every Kenyan should use. For instance, if you go to a place, just ask, what is happening here? Just know the basic frame of a baseline. What's normal here? Even when you know the basics of all. For instance, you walk into this studio and ask what's happening here, despite knowing we are on air? Yes, you need to know. That should be automatic because now that keeps you a step ahead. That keeps you now, gives you the advantage of the now 1 minute you did. Because if you know what is happening around you, you know, you look for who is an anomaly here, who's looking out of place, and then you have a plan, because you should always have a plan, an exit plan for that matter. You don't need to think on what to do. You need to react to it, because this is a cycle that is doing. For instance, if you have a gun and I ambush you, and you're not in a position to use it as per what you have, I'll kill you with a pen. So it's upon every Kenyan to be trained on OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, and act. It's an acronym. It's a cycle of decision. It's a decision-making cycle. Remember, decision-making cycle. Any other thing we do is we compete on decision-making. We challenge each other by decision making. How fast you react to whatever I want to do. It's what determines your fate. So, in OODA loop, we have what we call Hicks law. For instance, if you have two guns and a baton, and you want to strike you'll think about the two. That there will be a delay of time. What if you have one baton? You just use it and hit, right? You get it.
Let me get the gist of what you're saying, yes. That you react with the shortest time possible.
Yes.
And this reaction can be in the wrong side or the right side.
Yeah.
You could even endanger yourself in reacting so fast.
You see, whatever when you're reacting to keep yourself safe. You see,
but it's not always that you react to keep yourself.
No, you don't react for anything. Actually, people don't react for more than two reasons. You're either reacting to keep yourself safe and away from that danger, because that is the ultimate obligation you have as a person. You need to keep yourself safe. And even if it amounts to killing someone for you to be safe, you just need to do it.
Fair enough. One of my favorite statements from the book reads, "The greatest threat today in regards to security is not the people unknown to us, but the people who are well known to us." What do you mean by that?
I mean the greatest challenge we have as a country is not outside our borders. These are people that are around us. These are people that live with us. These are people that we use the same matatus with. These are people that we work with. So the question should be, how can you distinguish between a criminal amongst yourself? The only way you can do it, the answer is, the only way you can do it is through body language. It's through learning what you call human cues profiling. Human cues profiling basically is the body language. Is the precursor science I told you. Every human being gives information by what we dress, what we talk, how we walk, what we drive. We are always and constantly giving information that should be used by now the recipient of the information to know what is going around in my head. And to use that information to remove or get yourself away from danger.
Even in the event that one is not verbally communicating or non-verbally communicating, one is as mute as they want to be, just somewhere seated.
Can I give you an example?
Yes.
Like we're now talking, I can tell you're interested in what I'm talking by the look of your pupil. If your pupil dilate, it means you're interested in what I'm telling you. Or if it constrict, it means you focus. Now, no one will ever attack you if he has not planned. For instance, I'll tell you, we give so much through body language. When you have rage, you can tell by the clench of the fist. When you want to attack, we have biometrics. That is the body language, the body reaction, the biological body reaction, like sweating. Yet we have many other signs that we give out in form of, we give out for other people to read, to know our position and our mind status. Yes.
And you are talking of the technicalities involved in this, analyzing and somewhat looking at the human behavior. But this is information that is not necessarily on the fingertips of any Kenyan, many Kenyan.
Yes. That's now where now the governments need to embrace education. Kenya as a country should build resilience through education. Education of now what you're doing. It's fortunate that at this day and age we have information online. We have, for instance, I have designed a book and a program. I've written a book, a skill book and a program. It's now upon the civilians to read the book and know what to take in from there. For instance, it's important to even realize why people go to church. You go to church so that you can change your behaviors from who you are to what is expected of you by Christ, so that you can fit in the society. We need to get educated on what is hurting our society most, because today, unlike any other time, we have so much information around. Yes.
Fair enough. And between the attack, before the attack, and after the attack, there is what you call in the book zero time.
Zero time, yes.
What does zero time mean?
Zero
because time can never be literally zero.
Yes, it means the bang. Now, that's when the sexual assault is happening. That is in between reacting, because when you're reacting to something. when you're proactive to something. Now, the something we call something is the bang. You need to react before that particular moment. That particular moment where the terrorist is shooting at you.
And how do you identify that it is that particular moment?
By now reading the signs. You need to know how to read the signs prior, before the attack is mounted.
And these signs can range from looking into the eyes to see whether someone...
From the walking style, from the concealment, from the attire. The attire. Remember, if I take you back to what happened in Westgate, what happened in Dusit, did you note that these guys had some kind of a uniform? In the book, we have intelligence reporting, what we call an acronym called SALUTE. You should actually be in a position to know how many people are here, the activity, whatever they are doing, the location, the time, the uniform, the equipment. All these are what, where, when, and how. These are all things that would help you to distinguish between now or make you be a step ahead of a criminal. For instance, if you answer to the 3 questions I told you, scan the place, scan the people, and have a plan. If you're in a position to answer to those 3 questions, you'll actually take the advantage that the criminal has over you, the advantage of tactical, the advantage of tactical advantage and an element of surprise. He will be reacting to you because you'll attack before he attacks.
Fair enough. Listening to your words, it seems as though you are saying you should always be prepared. Should we always be on an alert?
Yes, no doubt. We are living in a country that an attack would come any other time without a warning. Yes, we need to be alert. Otherwise, if you're not alert, unfortunately, you'll find yourself on the receiving end.
And where do you draw the distinction between being alert and being in paranoia?
By the training that we have, I'll take you back, we have levels of awareness. Levels of awareness will actually distinguish between paranoia and now just being new. Now, if you totally know nothing, for instance, when you sleep in your house, I'm sure you put on in your boxers and you're free because you've locked your door. That is condition white. You know that you have at least a wall or a door that if someone needs to come, will pass through. At least you're secure in a way. We have, that is in a form of an alarm to your brain. In the second stage, we have yellow, which is relaxed alert. This is where now we should always be. Just be on the lookout. Not specifically look for trouble. Not to look for trouble so that you can, but to look for trouble so that you can protect yourself. You just be on the lookout. And then we have focused alert. Focused alert is condition orange. This is where now you identify some anomalies. If this guy does this, what are these signs that I'm looking at that would make this particular person a person of interest? And then from there we have now level red. This is now focused, whereby you put your measures. If this person does 1, 2, 3, my reaction will be 2, 4, 5. You understand?
Yes.
Now you'll counter. You've now raised your awareness level to the top. And then there's this other final level which is called comatose, black, where what happened in Garissa. You hear gunshot and you freeze. Because we have 3 states of a human mind. Flight, fight, or freeze. Flight or fight is what is known common to us as Kenyans. But then we have this other aspect of freeze. Freeze means you are not prepared for that particular activity that is happening. So you've got no control of what the outcome. You understand? Yes.
And these are all preparations that one should always live up to, all the times?
I believe you know how to drive, I'm sure. The first time you took a motor vehicle, it was a bit tricky for you to actually coordinate between the steering and the brake pedals and the accelerator. But as time goes by, it became so automatic such that you can actually even pick a call while driving. That's the same thing. When you're using your conscious mind to get to whatever we're training here, it will be a bit tricky. But if you leave it each and every day, it will be so automatic.
Fair enough. Let's get back to the statement that I quoted you earlier on, seemingly one of my favorite from the book. The greatest threat today in regards to security is not the people unknown to us, but the people who are well known to us.
Yes.
I asked you what you mean, you explained. Fair enough. Does this include the prospects of homegrown terror as well?
Of course, yes. Homegrown terror is a fact of Kenya today. It's a fact that we cannot run away from, because we've had Kenyans crossing over to Somalia and coming back to this country. When they come back, we're not bound, or maybe, I don't know, I can't actually comment on that. They are bound to try to even recruit other members in the society. And we know terrorism has been localized. It's actually called... It has actually been localized to an extent that we have terror leaders giving orders on a local level, where we have lone hooves.
Yes.
People being given directions.
Fractions within terror groups.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yes. So it's the truth that we need to actually appreciate and now start preparing for that.
And let's get to the psychology of this person. For someone who lives in a relatively peaceful country as we are,
yes,
why would someone leave Kenya, go to Somalia or any other country, be part of a terror group, come back to harm locally? They're not fighting for their land since they're already in their country and there's no invention.
You see, Kenya is not a perfect...
Invasion, rather.
Yes, we're not living in a perfect country. Kenya is a growing country which has its challenges. As a country and as a nation, the leadership cannot determine what you're thinking as a person. It's upon you as a person to take responsibility of the resources that are there, to make use of them and become that law-abiding citizen. It's unfortunate that we are facing different challenges in this country. Different people are facing different challenges as per personal level. We have different motives that would drive us to do terror, to commit crimes, and do many other things that are not right to this society. And
let's get to the specifics of these motives. What are some of these motives? For instance,
we have broken families. Actually, they are called push and pull factors. We have push factors like now broken families. We have community rejection. We have influence, peer influence. We have pull factors like working systems. People are going to work for Al-Shabaab because they think they'll be paid. There's that money aspect of employment. There's that rage of perennial vengeance that people need to revenge on the government. We have so many other challenges that would lead one to join a terror group. And they're defined. But it's upon a person to actually make that choice of now joining that terror group. Yes.
Fair enough. Mwiti, hold on that thought. I understand we need now to cross over to Memorial Park, where the memorial service of the U.S. Embassy attack of 1998, what basically forms the genesis of this discussion, is currently going on. Remember, the twin attacks were in Kenya and in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. A total of 224 people lost their lives. 5,000 people were equally injured. Let's cross over there and listen in.
Historia yake kwa kusema kweli, huyu balozi maisha yake mengi sana amekulia katika sehemu hizi zetu za nchi yetu ya Kenya. Nafikiri kwa kule sehemu za Meru, nafikiri ana shamba lake kama ni makondoo ama nini. Kwa hivyo pia Kiswahili kwake mboga, ajua vizuri sana. Kwa hivyo hili jambo lazima tuzungumze ili tumalize hii tetesi zaidi, ili tukija kwa makumbusho tusiwe tuzungumza mambo ya amani, tunazungumza mambo ya nini, tunazungumza mambo ya utaratibu ambao tutaweza kuufanya. Kwa hivyo tunaendelea na taratibu zetu, na kwa hivyo mabibi na mabwana wenzetu wa press, tungewaomba kidogo, kwa sababu leo hatutakuwa na ile tunaita speech, hotuba yetu. Sasa tutakuwa tu verbal tunazungumza. Kwa hivyo nyinyi mteke zile ambazo tunazungumza, ili mtakuwa mfanye news zenu zile ambazo mtaweza kuzifanya katika njia ambayo ni nzuri kwa urahisi, ili kupapanua kwamba leo ilikuwa hivi na vile, kwa sababu yule ambaye nilikuwa namtarajia angekuja kusoma speech yake hayuko, na mimi sasa hivi sijaweza kutengeneza speech. Kwa hivyo yangu ni haya tunazungumza, nikizungumza na waathiriwa wenzangu. Na kwa sasa hivi basi ningeomba kuomba kwamba tunataka mmoja wetu waathiriwa, survivor mmoja, azungumze kwa niaba ya survivors. Kwa hivyo nitamwita mama yetu Elizabeth Gitonga ili azungumze kwa niaba ya waathiriwa wote kwa jumla. Alafu tutakuwa na mama wale widows. Nataka mama mmoja azungumze kuhusu widows. Munajionaje wakati mlipoondokewa na watu wenzetu, au sivyo? Maisha yako vipi na nini, muweze kueleza wengine. Alafu tutafuatia tena victim family, ambayo pengine familia wale ambao wameumia hapa waweze kuzungumza masuala hayo. Maanake kila mmoja lazima tumpatie nafasi yake, yule ambaye atataka kuzungumza kidogo, lakini kwa dakika kidogo. Alafu pia kuna wengine ambao hivi sasa ni orphans, mayatima. Nao pia tungetaka moja anipe majina, alafu tena tuweze kwenda kwa utaratibu ili tuweze kuendelea na ratiba yetu. Ili yani tunayozungumza wenzetu waweze kuangazia. Na nyinyi wenzetu wanahabari wetu, mnaona hizi picha tumeziweka kwa sababu gani? Ama mnaona hii picha tumeiweka hapa kwa sababu gani? Ama ile picha ya Trump tumeweka kwa sababu gani? Tumeweka kwa sababu ujumbe ufike katika kule ambao wakiona kwamba tutasema kwamba tumewadunisha, lakini hatukuwadunisha. Tunasema ule ukweli. Taifa kubwa kama la Marekani, kwa nini sisi tunafanywa vitu kama hivi? Ikiwa rais wetu na huo ni marafiki, kwa nini wasizungumze kiurafiki na kibinadamu? Ama sivyo jamani? Kwa hivyo balozi wetu huyu tunampenda sana. Jana alikuwa hapa, lakini aliwasilisha maua yake. Yale maua yale, lile bali kubwa lile nilitoka kwenye American Embassy. Kwa hivyo wakati tunapoweka maua, tutakwenda kuchukua lile ambalo limeletwa na balozi, sisi sote twende tukaliweke pale nasi katika ua lile, kwa sababu sisi hatukuweza kupata maua. Si ni kweli? Miaka hiyo mengine ilikuwa tunaletewa maua hapa. King'ori siku hizi haja, alikuwa analeta boksi, manake kule Limuru maua ni mengi na sisi simuoni. Kwa hivyo sasa jambo kama hilo wenzetu waandishi wa habari, ndugu zangu, na washukuru sana. Kwa hivyo picha hizi unazoziona, nataka muengezie kwamba ni ujumbe makususi mkubwa kwamba taifa la Kenya linaadhimisha miaka 21 katika mkasa wa bomu wa mwaka 1998 katika jiji letu la Nairobi. Kwa hivyo Rais Trump wa Marekani, chukua ujumbe wetu. Balozi wetu wa Marekani hapa nchini Kenya, chukua ujumbe wetu. Na wale wengine hapa ambao tuko pia, na wale ambao walikuwa wana mambo kama yale. Osama ndiye yule, lakini naye hayuko, ana mkoba pale yule. Sijui kama kuna senti. Hizi pesa ambazo tunatafutiwa sio kwamba ni za mtu mfukoni, ni za watu mataifa mbalimbali. Lakini kwa nini inakuwa hivi? Sasa hayo ndio mambo ambayo lazima tuyazungumze. Kwa hivyo mama Elizabeth anazungumza kwa niaba ya survivors. Sisi tukiwa sote atatuzungumzia yeye.
Machache tu. Habari zenyu waathiriwa. Mimi sitaongea mengi kwa sababu chairman ameongea mambo nyingi. Sasa ni kusema serikali ya Kenya ijaribu kutukumbuka. Tumekaa miaka 21, tunakuja hapa kila wakati, every year, na hakuna kitu tunapata. Na sisi hatutaki hata kusema ni compensation tunataka kulipo. Tungependa hata kama serikali inaweza kutusikilia huruma kama vile President Moi alifanya na akatupatia kitu. Hata tunaomba serikali ya Kenya ikiongozwa na President Uhuru Kenyatta, tunamuomba tukinyenyekea sana, tukisema atukumbuke hata kama ni kututupia kitu kidogo. Na tunaomba aweze kuongea na serikali ya Amerika, kwa sababu kama tukienda huko kwa embassy wanaturudisha kwa serikali yetu. Sasa tunaomba na tukinyenyekea, serikali ya Kenya chini ya President Uhuru Kenyatta itukumbuke sana, kwa sababu tumekuwa na shida nyingi. Tumekuwa na shida za magonjwa, watu wengi wamekufa na watoto wamepata tabu, hawana watu wa kuwasaidia. Hata saidi naona msichana mmoja pale, nakumbuka alikuwa na shida nyingi sana. Hebu kuja. Sijui kama mnakumbuka huyu msichana. Vile nimemuona ndio nimekumbuka hiyo siku vile kulikuwa. kwa sababu alikuwa na shida nyingi sana, na vile nimeona hata yeye akuje aonekane hapa, uone vile hata Mungu amefanya kumfikisha wakati kama huu, na vile alikuwa mgonjwa sana wakati, kwa sababu alikuwa kwa ile basi ilikuwa hapa, ile iligongwa. Na sina mengi ya kusema, ni kusema Mungu awatubariki, atulinde, tuweze kufikisha wakati.
Well, those are live pictures coming to us from Memorial Park here in Nairobi. Remember, this is in remembrance of the attacks that happened in Kenya and in Tanzania. Remember, that happened on August the 7th, 1998, when a massive blast hit the U.S. Embassy here in Nairobi. Now, let's get back to the discussion that we had in studio. My guest, just a reminder, is Mwiti Muridhi, who is an analyst. We are talking about the war on terror. Before we crossed over to Memorial Park, I asked you a question in reference to why would someone so young, with a brilliant future, prospectively, join Al-Shabaab, leave the comfort of their home in Kenya and join a terror group, come back to kill?
Saying a bright future is relative because...
I mean, someone who can dream and be as wild as they can be.
You see, we honestly don't know what is behind the scenes. The only way you can capture any human being is manipulating his thinking capacity. Now, it is easier to convince any human through religion than any other thing. Yes, it's true you've seen leaders of these terror groups are well educated. Mm-hmm. But then to what level are they in these particular terror groups? For instance, the leader of ISIL is a PhD holder. Mm-hmm. But then to what level, what is he is using young innocent people to get to his targets? Because mm-hmm. we know terror is run by it has a trade. Mm-hmm. For instance, we understand that in our neighboring country they sell of charcoal. There's so much. There is minerals. There's fish. There's all what we can we think.
And there are allegations that that charcoal is getting to Kenya, of which we'll talk of the economy of terror a little bit later as well. But my question was, why would someone so young leave a country relatively as peaceful as we are to join a terror group, come back and hurt innocent people?
For a cause. Anyone would move from what we call a safe haven to a volatile place for a cause. Mm-hmm. People do things in search of purpose. Someone will go to an extra length to actually fulfill his purpose of being in this country, or for that matter, for being alive and who he is.
Even when that purpose means dying for that purpose?
Purpose is what makes us who we are. It is the driving force. It's the driving force behind each and every person. Mm-hmm. And for lack of purpose mm-hmm. is where we have now a number of people who actually can't even tell why they're here.
I'm just questioning why someone will decide their purpose to be cutting the purpose of others short.
But then you see the purpose is behind now protecting the Holy Book. That is the biggest purpose we have as a human being, protecting and having, because, for instance, the narrative is you protect this purpose and you live happily thereafter. Mm-hmm. So it's better you do now the donkey work here and now live a better life after the afterlife. So if this purpose makes what you're doing vanity of vanities, it's better you find something else to do that will give you the purpose to live better in the afterlife.
In the book, Act Before a Bang, you posit that the difference between a civilian and the most trained person is the amount of information of one's disposal.
Yes.
This meaning information that can be used against them or information that can be tilted towards their end.
Yes, you see, as a writer, I'm entitled to write what I think, and uh-huh. you as a reader, you're entitled to interpret according to your own
understanding.
Yes,
mm-hmm.
But then for this purpose, the difference between the most trained person and a civilian is the training itself. Now, that is the difference of what I told you on what to look for, how to look for, and what to do. This is information that can be read. This is information that is there for people to read and change their lives. This book, the whole intention of this book is to help you develop skills that will help you protect yourself and the people that you love. Now, that is the difference between the most trained person and you. When to know when to react, how to react, and when not to react and escape.
Let's get to the practicality of this. For the last 1 hour plus, we have talked of the theoretical part, what is in the book, and what the norm is. In a case of one who finds himself to be at a place where there is an active shooting,
yes,
what should one do?
In an active shooting situation, one thing that each and every person needs to know is you need to take cover. I'm sure that little information is there even in movies. You need to take cover. Taking cover means you need to protect yourself against a particular direction where bullets are flying. That is one. Secondly, if in a position that you can't escape, you first need to actually prepare yourself for a fight, and a hard one for that matter. That is mental preparation. Because the best weapon you have as a person during that particular moment is a stable state of mind. In the military, they call it tactical patience. For you not to panic, for you to plan yourself better, you think tactically, you have patience to be calm and prepare yourself to strike hard. Remember, if there is an advantage of space, it means you can run. You get me? If you're in close proximity, it means the only way out there is to fight. And remember, war doesn't have laws and rules. So there's no fairness in fighting. In the moment that your life is at risk, you need to use whatever you need to use to get yourself out of there alive. If that includes doing the unthinkable, just do it. Because at that particular moment, what really matters is you getting out, not the other person. You should not be a victim. He should be a victim when that time comes, because we have opportunity. Sometimes there's an element of space, and this means you can get yourself out of there. But then when it comes that you're cornered in a place and there's nothing you can do, it's better to have a plan, a prior plan that you need now to strike, and to strike hard. There's no amount of mercy and pleading that will get you out of that particular predicament.
Fair enough. You say there's not enough mercy or pleading that will get you out of that. Then how do you... Let me rephrase this question before I even ask. This is a person who is ready to die.
Yes.
And they're ready to attack.
Yes.
So that they die.
Yes.
Then how do you lodge such a person?
This is person who is ready to die. That's why he's attacking you. And you, because you need to live, you should be ready to kill. You get me? He's ready to kill you, he's ready to die, and in the process he's ready to kill you. You should be in a position to save your life. You should be ready to kill to get yourself there alive. You get me?
And fair enough, just to be specific.
Do you get me, Baite?
Yes, I get your point.
Yes.
But seemingly it's passing as though one may misunderstand it.
Yes.
And that's why I'm putting it clear to all our audience that we are talking of a case of an active shooter.
Yes.
Who is a terrorist, who is aiming to kill. Not just a case of someone else walking into a place and you fighting them. The question of victimization as well has been on the lips of many. I asked you this question earlier on, that if I see any abnormality, I as an individual may not be confident enough to report to a police station or to the security agencies. Do we have private firms that we can report to?
Well, as of now, one thing I know is we have call centers from all utility companies in this country. We have communication call centers for firms like Safaricom. We have all these call centers, emergency call centers that are there and in existence. So It means that if you know, if you have the intelligence and you can't get through to the police, it is better that you relay it through a public utility.
And the word intelligence is often has been described as a caveat as well. This is a very big word. You talk of intelligence, you talk as though there are details, write it down. Intelligence can be as simple as?
Intelligence can be as simple as I saw someone with a gun walking to a certain mall. Just that. I don't suspect him to be a policeman, because if he or she is a policeman and not in uniform, the particular weapon should be concealed. That, as simple as that, could be an intelligence. Or as simple as you ever had people planning to commit a crime. You overheard over the phone someone planning to commit a felony. That can be as simple as that could be the intelligence. What you need to do is now to package the intelligence in a format that the recipient of the intelligence will be able to encode and make it actionable for action to be taken. Like, for instance,
your primary responsibility as a civilian is to paint it as you see it.
Yes.
The decoding, you mean, will be done by the authorities?
Yes, but then we have a format. In the book, we have a format called Salute. You need to package it in a way that it will bring meaning to someone. For instance, you are in a cab. You need to know the driver of a cab, maybe you approximate the age, probably. You need to know the number plates. You need to know the car type, where it was heading to. You understand?
Yes.
Those are small details that you need to package them in a format that it will bring meaning to someone who is receiving the intelligence. Because only saying that you had a driver in a cab saying about this and you don't know the car number, you don't have the phone number. For instance, today we are lucky we have some trail, some information data we can give out. It means that this intelligence cannot be acted upon because it cannot be acted upon. Yes.
Fair enough, Mwiti. I understand we still have 5, if not 6 minutes as we conclude. Post 9/11, there has been, the term literally has been the fight against terror, war on terror, war on global terrorism. Can the war on terror be won? Or is it an endless war?
I can tell you this. War on terror or war on any organized crime, like I pointed out, since the time immemorial, human beings have had organized crimes, organized criminals. This is not a new thing in the world. So war can never be won if we have ignorant society. You get me? War and criminals will always take the advantage of ignorance to the civilians. But then if we have informed civilians, it will be harder for them to take the advantage and attack an informed civilian. So what I basically mean is war can never be won by either party. That is for a sure thing. As long as we'll continue having
but one
ignorance,
end can be defeated.
One end can be defeated.
Resulting to the end of that war.
Yes. Basically, there's no way you can control someone from committing a crime. Or, for instance, there's no way you can actually predict someone will commit a crime in future, because circumstances and so many other factors change. You get me?
Fair enough.
What you cannot actually fight is real-time crime that is happening, but then you cannot do predictive. What you can do is you can plan to deter crime in future, but then you cannot eliminate crime as per se.
Mwiti, when 9/11 happened, the unfortunate of 9/11 and other prior terror attacks, there was a renewed fight on terror. More than a decade later, what we have seen is an increase in the number of public terror groups that want to force their own ideologies, which seemingly puts the question again whether the war on terror actually is a war on terror. if at all you engaged in a war that is begetting other terrorist groups?
War on terror simply means the believers of a certain analogy against the governments. You understand? Terrorism is an international, it's an international movement against specific countries that are facing the challenges. We've seen, like you said, like it has been brought to our attention, we have international fighters in Somalia fighting the Kenyan government. So, which means terror is not bound by boundaries. Terror is an international movement. Against now for the case of Kenya, against now the Kenyan government. So, the only way the Kenyan government can do is to safeguard itself against now the international terror. By doing what? By now training its population against now the terrorism. Now it is war on government, it's government against terrorism. I think, am I clear?
Not really. Let me get you.
Terrorism attracts different people from different parts of the world.
Fair enough.
Now, these people are fighters for this one mindset. It is this government that is attacking our religion. This government happens to be the countries, namely any other country. For instance, now we call it Kenya. So these are people with the same mindset trying to fight a government, which is now the Kenyan government, in quotes, the government. So it is actually, you cannot actually control the ideology of these people from outside. What you can do is control yourself and manage the people that are in Kenya. There's no
But
way.
you can deter these ideologies before they get to your civilians.
What you do is, because we said the challenge is not the outside world, because we have the military, we have the Kenya Defense Forces at our borders to prevent intruders to our country. The biggest challenge is the people that are in now, the Kenyans that are brainwashed to believe that they are fighting for the same cause. You understand?
Yes.
To join this other side to fight the Kenyan government for the same cause, what you need to do is now to eliminate the threat from inside and protect your borders from outside.
Good. In our final minute, we have the ALERT program here as well, which is authored by you. In a nutshell, do you mind telling us what the ALERT program is about?
ALERT program is a program designed for crime and terrorism surveillance to detect and report intelligence to law enforcement. Basically, it is a link between the civilians and the law enforcement. This is the link that has been missing all through. Now, for civilians to be able to use the analogy, see something, say something, they need to know what to see. They need to know what to look for so that they can have a particular intelligence, now what you call intelligence, to be able to relate to the law enforcement. They need to be taught on what to look for and how to look for that particular intelligence so that they can relate to law enforcement. I'll give you an example. If you're an M-Pesa lady and you detect that this money that you're giving to this person is blood money, what do you need to do? Now, ALERT program bridges the gap between now what a financial or what this lady will do, what this matatu guy will do, because our security depends on other people's observation skills.
And let's use the analogy and stick with the lady who works at
for
an
instance,
M-Pesa. For instance, then, that someone wants to deposit money. You don't know where the source of that money is. But this is a customer, as many of your other customers. Will you ask them where that money is coming?
No, actually, it's not you to ask where the money is, but it's you to detect now through body language, which is here, through so many other aspects of crime, to detect that this money is not the rightful money. By the way, we have laws and laws to be followed when depositing money. The only way, if someone does exactly what needs to be done while depositing money, you've got no problem over that, because you've got no proof. But then we know that if you're doing this, if you want to relay or to send money to the wrong person for terror, for terror logistics, you know, we'll try to compromise on what should be done. For instance, there's a program called TRIP program in the US where sellers or premise holders tips the government when a sale of something that is suspicious is done. You understand me?
Yes.
For instance, you've sold something suspicious, or you suspect that someone is doing something that is not right. You should be in a position to relay the same information to the law enforcement. That's where now see something, say something comes in. For you to see something, you need to be trained on what to look for and how to look for that particular thing. Now, it could be in a matatu, it could be in a bank, it could be in the airport. What is it that it will be a trigger effect that will trigger you to relay information to law enforcement?
And just to get the sum total of what you are saying.
Yes.
The genesis of it is security starts with me and you.
Yes, exactly.
Let's finalize it there.
See something, say something. You need to know what to look for and how to look for that in order to say it.
Thank you, Mwiti Muridhi, author of the book Act Before a Bang and Alert Program, who is also a security analyst. Gentlemen, many thanks for making time
Thank
for
you
us.
so much for having me.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's edition of Midweek. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Enjoy the rest of our programs.